Well, good morning, everybody. Our first animation here comes from one of my favorite websites, blitzertongue.org, and we're looking here at live lightning strikes pretty early this morning here on Wednesday. And the severe weather outbreak that happened in the lower Mississippi River Valley has now kind of lined out into one long squall line that stretches from near New Orleans all the way here into South Carolina. So very active lightning this morning, some stronger winds with this system, and a lot of folks here getting woken up early by the storms. In total, we just kind of watched the count overnight continue to grow. We're up to 103 reports of severe weather last night, 35 reports of tornadoes. So we'll start to see today some of the damage reports come in and try to really assess how nasty of a severe weather event this was. But many folks down here in the lower Mississippi River Valley, stretching up into the Tennessee Valley, almost into the Ohio River Valley, saw some pretty rough weather yesterday. This did include storms that even stretched pretty far north up into Wisconsin as well. So this was a very potent system here for this point in late November. Now we add it all up. Here's through 7 a.m. this morning, the total accumulated precipitation out of that system. So a lot of this was snow, all right? We did have the storms that kind of built right in through here, but the heaviest rainfall from those storms stretched from far eastern Texas over to parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and getting into Georgia and Tennessee, where some places here did pick up from these storms 4 to 5 inches of rain. There were numerous reports of hail in here as well, plus some straight line wind damage, and just saw some videos last night really showing how strong those 40 to 70 mile an hour winds were. Now the precip that's coming into the Pacific Northwest is a part of the next system. That's what you see here. And we will continue to see heavy rains moving through the east into New England today as this progresses. But I do want to show you the snowfall before we go any further. Last 72 hours of total accumulated snow. Again, the system that came in and ejected delivered a lot of its snow throughout the Rockies and then put down a pretty good swath of snow here. In fact, I think it shut down the Minneapolis airport for a little while. Some places they are picking up well over 6 inches of snow. So this morning, just as the sun was rising, you can see that system right there. And I love to see these large shadows on the backs of the clouds fields early in the morning. Just shows you how deep they are. So this is the storms moving through. Going to continue to put down some heavier rain here, stretching into New England, but high pressure takes over on the backside as the cold front really just works its way all the way into the Gulf of Mexico. The next system is brewing in the northwest. I'll show you more about that in a second. We do continue to see the risk of those severe storms in the Panhandle into this part of southern Georgia this morning, but this system is on its way out right now. The cold air that's coming in behind it is brutally cold. I'm actually here in Great Falls this morning, and last night got single-digit low temperatures. You can see those stretching down through the front range here, but the colder air is pressing pretty far to the south. For example, Amarillo already down to 19 this morning as this cold front moves. But these temperatures are going to moderate in a big way in the coming days before another reinforcing shot of cold air comes out of the Canadian prairie. So I'll come back to that in a second, but I just want to show you that's where the front currently sits. So the low is here. It comes all the way down to the Gulf Coast, and it's going to continue to press through as well. But what we're keeping our eye on is what's following it, the next system on the backside. So today's all hazards weather map shows one system leaving and another system coming in. So some strong winds throughout parts of the northeast and the eastern Great Lakes into the Canadian Maritimes here. We will get some lake effect snow on the backside of this. We can already see the winter storm advisories that have been put out here. But we're going to watch for some heavy rains to move across the east late this morning. But expanded area of winter weather watches, really winter weather advisories, and then the winter storm warning. That's what you see in this shade of color here throughout the west. We're going to keep a close eye on total precip out of this coming into the west, as western U.S. snowpack has actually had a decent start to the season. We talked about that in last night's long-range update. So let's go right into the high-res models this morning to start this at 7 a.m. And we're going to quickly see that one system move through New England and cut through the East Coast. So some heavy rains in through here this morning. And then that's going to move on out by, this is 1 o'clock this afternoon, getting to about 5, 6, 7 o'clock this evening. And there's the lake effect snow behind it. High pressure dominates in the midsection of the country as the next system enters here. So very active pattern in the near term. Now the trajectory of the jet stream level winds is coming in like this. So this comes over the Klamath Mountains, dumps a lot of snow, brings snow into the interior of Oregon, into the northern Rockies here in Idaho, and also just kind of lines up on the north rim of the Snake River Valley, building in some snow. So going through tonight, on Wednesday night, into tomorrow morning early, that's where we see that snow really pushing through. See this? So we're going to look for quite a bit of snow and rain in California out of this. as this system digs into the west. And here we are by 8 p.m. on Thursday. We're going to watch this one emerge late this weekend here out of the plains. Bit of a shift overall in how much snow we are anticipating out of this one here across the northern United States. Earlier in the week, I thought there would be better snows here. Models were certainly advertising that, but the latest trajectory on this system now pulls it into parts of Colorado and brings a front pretty quickly through, therefore eliminating some of the heavier snows that were possible across the northern tier of the United States out of this system at least. But I want to show you a couple of just snapshots of what we're expecting here over the next 7 days. The map over here on the left is looking at the latest European model forecast for the next 7 days of total accumulated snowfall. So these systems that keep diving in and out of the Gulf of Alaska before making their turn across the Intermountain West are adding up quite a bit in the Cascades, the Klamath Mountains, down in Sierra Nevada, plus right here into parts of the northern Rockies. We'll get some snowpack building into parts of interior of Oregon where we still have extensive drought. And then dotted along the spine of the Rockies, you can see the snowfall totals here. On the liquid side of this, do notice along the I-5 corridor getting into California, we got quite a bit of moisture that is going to come out of this, but it will likely not make it down into Southern California. And we need to see what happens on the other side of the mountains here by seeing who's going to be getting the rain and who's not over the next 10 days. So I put two maps in today's report kind of next to each other. These are probability maps. The one on the left is the map you're going to look at to find out who's going to be wet, and the one on the right is who's going to be dry. So this is the probability of getting greater than an inch of liquid equivalent. So this would be, melting the snow, what it would look like. So the heaviest precip is here over the next 10 days into New England, and also we have the Great Lake effect snow here, and then into the west. But on the drier side of things, notice where we've been struggling with extremely dry conditions throughout the plains, the probability of getting less than 1/10 of an inch of precipitation from Southern California into this section of the plains here is very high. We're looking at that 50 to 80% chance of seeing less than 1/10 of an inch of total precip. Same thing for Florida as well. So if we just kind of put it together in a total precipitation map for the next 7 days, that's what you got here from the WPC. So this is kind of highlighting both of the previous maps in one map here. And I want to show you some changes from last night's model runs. So this is this morning's earliest stuff. We've already seen this first system exiting east. There it goes. So that one's out. High pressure builds in. Lake effect snow gets going. By Thursday morning, we're watching this next big system dive into the Pacific Northwest. And one of the big changes is the amount of snow that's on the northern side of this. Okay, so Thursday into Friday, will it spread some snow into Montana, North Dakota, the Red River Valley of the North, and Minnesota? Yes. But we had a bit more snow in the forecast yesterday than the current setup you're seeing here. It still opens up more showers and storms from eastern Texas into Arkansas and lower Mississippi River Valley to the Tennessee Valley through Friday night. But that system pretty quickly gets into Ontario as we go into Saturday morning. Okay. Now what it will do, like we saw in last night's model runs, is leave a lingering front by midday Saturday that stretches from New England all the way down the spine of the Appalachian Mountains into Texas. And during this time, we're watching high pressure building behind it. That's your next shot at cold air coming out of the Canadian prairie here. And then we're going to see our next system sliding into the west coast. So this is more precipitation coming into, for example, the Sierra Nevada mountains. Now, what really changed for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week is that the model developed a bit more of I guess I would call it a flatter pattern. We're going to see a trough come through here, and the wave that came into California that we thought was going to eject and possibly just follow the previous storm system, which delivered snow through this area, is now kind of got a much different trajectory. So from midday Monday into Tuesday and Wednesday, this northern system, the short wave coming through here, is really kind of limiting the depth of the trough that's going to be sitting in the midsection of the United States. And as a result, we just saw a drier trend in this area. So that's one of the bigger changes we saw in the models as of late. But it's just another low that curls up into Ontario, brings a front across the east, and the pattern just remains kind of active as we go forward. Now, I did diagram and put it in the report this morning what the weather pattern is going to look like for, about the 8th, 9th, and 10th of December and beyond, like through mid-December. We get a retracted Pacific jet. We get weaker flow in the Gulf of Alaska. Systems still enter like this into the northwest, but we're going to see better chances at cold air getting let out. And one of the things I'm struggling with trying to resolve is what does that mean for the storm track coming off of this piece of the jet stream? because the models are drier with it, but it doesn't make sense to me just yet. This is typically a setup that can, especially in the eastern part of the country, deliver more kind of East Coast cyclones. I get why it's drier in the central United States. There's more cold, dry air coming out of the Canadian prairie, and there's also convergent flow in the jet stream. But I think we're going to have to watch this more carefully than maybe what the models suggest. 3 other things. Big blocking ridge comes into Greenland. That could deliver cold east in North America and throughout Europe. We also see that the polar vortex in the stratosphere is getting displaced and is still quite weak and moving over parts of Siberia. So what it does to the temperatures, well, here's today, the cold front already making its way all the way down to the Gulf, and that spreads east by Thursday. But I told you, we're going to see a quick rebound of temperatures in the midsection of the country. So Thursday into Friday, ahead of that next system that comes out, I mean, very warm conditions are forecast to return on top of where it's been very dry here in the winter wheat belt. So that's Friday. Getting into Saturday, next round of cold air comes in. There's Sunday, though, a rebound. See how volatile this pattern is? But going into Monday and Tuesday, this is when I think we start to dislodge the cold air that's over the Canadian prairie, and it's going to come down and likely live in the United States for quite a bit longer. So we're going to lose these warm shots of air once we get past this weekend into early next week. The models are really showing that quite well. So this is a 5-day sliding window of temperature anomalies. And what do we notice here as we get fully into the first week of December, like December 3rd through the 8th, and then beyond, that colder air just sets up better resonance across the northern tier of the U.S. And we start to see that as the big ridge builds, see the heat here into the Canadian Maritimes and Greenland? As that builds, the risk of colder air kind of existing in this corridor increases. And the likelihood of seeing more of this throughout winter, at least December, I think, is increased as the models advertise a big blocking ridge over Greenland for a while. Okay, from here, I want to talk just quickly about South America. I put these 2 maps in the report today. Just pulled this off of Brazilian's Meteorological Service website just to show the last 15 days. The total rainfall through here has been very light compared to normal. And there's, talking to a couple of my colleagues down here, they're starting to show up some regional drought stresses. Now, this could continue to be a problem if the forecast for total precipitation does not verify. You notice in that same region, the models did come up with better rains here and near normal rains in Mato Grosso and wetter east. So if this does not verify over the next 10 days, we're going to really start to see some of the yield predictions for Mato Grosso do Sul, and to Paraná starting to back off. Okay, but this is critical for this area. We do continue to see very dry conditions forecast for Argentina, and that is also where we see very warm conditions being forecast compared to normal going forward. So this is going to continue to make the drought and heat stress in Argentina a problem as we work our way toward their their summer and our winter here in the Northern Hemisphere. So we'll keep watching it. I'll talk to you again tomorrow morning. Have a good one. Thanks.